Hey, my friends, welcome back to Life Interrupts Us, the podcast. I'm your storyteller, Stephen Wayne, and I'm back. And when I say welcome back, I mean it. Welcome back. It has been far too long since we've spent some time together and since I've last shared things with you, stories that I have and things that I've experienced, the journeys that I've been on. We finished season 2 in October, November. And my plan was to take about a month off and then get right back to season 3 because we had so much going on for season 3 that we wanted to jump on. And then life interrupted me. So I'm gonna share with you some things. Share with you some things that occurred. Again, I am a storyteller, so I'm gonna tell you some stories. But I want to first, say that for those of you who do follow the podcast and have been supportive, I appreciate you. Seasons 1 and 2 under our belt, and now we're in season 3. There are higher expectations and less room for error. And so season 1, we really were just kind of navigating, finding our way in this whole podcast world. Season 2, we leveled up with a lot. We leveled up with our equipment. We leveled up with our editing. We leveled up with our content and even our guests. We had some dynamic guests in season 2, Grammy Award winners and hip hop legends and choreographers, authors. We had it. We had it all in season 2. And so now we're back for season 3. And, every season we had a theme, right? Season 1 was relationships. That was a theme. In season 1, we talked about various aspects of relationships from love life to best friends to fathers and sons, men in romance, like love or lust with my homegirl, Dr. Jashana Johnson. We talked about a lot. Season 2, we covered the arena or the journey of the creatives. And because I am a creative and I'm a creative in several different outlets, I had several friends to talk to. And so this season, initially, I wasn't going to have a theme. And then I had an encounter. And I had an encounter that reminded me that life is short. And whether you believe in God or higher power or spiritual being or not, life on this end is short. And we're only given a few days. So we're challenged and encouraged to redeem the time. So season 3 is about redeeming the time. Season 3 will be me talking a lot about things that I've done right in being a time redemptor or redeemer. Redemptor, that wasn't right. But also things that I have yet to redeem the time properly on, things that I've been dragging my feet on. It's going to be a real transparent season. And I've got some guests who are going to talk about how they have redeemed the time or have struggled to redeem the time. So let me kick this season off with just some bold honesty. This season, I'm going to talk a lot about my journey as a parent, and specifically as a parent with all 3 of my kids. I have 3 children who are all uniquely different from one another. And how I've had to parent them has also been uniquely different from one another. My youngest is 15. He'll be 16 this year. And I can tell y'all right now, he gets on my nerves. I love him to death, but he gets on my nerves. And I think it's because he's 15 in this generation, and all of you watching this who have 15-year-olds, I know they get on your nerves too, especially the boys. But also, I'm old, hence the gray and no hair. Normally I rock a hat, but I wanted to show my bald head today. And the combination of the two, my age, his generation, and then the generation that I come from, I think that my generation is the last generation of real parents. I'm gonna say that. Y'all out here with you 35-year-olds with these 15-year-old kids, y'all tripping. These kids need a whooping, and y'all need a whooping too. But anyway, I digress. My middle son, 22, trying to find his way. And I'm going to talk this season about that in an episode where I talk about the journey of being a parent to an adult who's trying to figure it out. And then my oldest, my daughter, she's 26, and parenting her is even different. She's on her trajectory for her career, and she's got a couple of degrees, and she's kind of checked off all the boxes. But there's still things that she and I have to navigate and talk through and work through as a father and daughter. And I want to talk about that too. I want to talk about that. But mostly, I want to talk about me. This last year was an interesting year. It was a year that was loaded with financial blessings. 2025 was a really good year economically for my family. My business did very, very well, far past what I could have seen. And as a result, my wife and I were able to take care of our lives, take care of our family, bless people, because we do a lot of that, bless people and help people in whatever need they were in. And we did a little traveling. We didn't go overboard. But that was last year. 2026, man. And I'll tell you now, I saw this coming in like October, November of 2025. I knew that this year was coming the way it has hit. And man, has it hit ever. It's been sobering how fleeting money and things can be. And if you are not locked in with the people that you're journeying through life with, things can get shaky. They get shaky when you're locked in, but they really get shaky when you're not. So I'm going to talk about that this season too. My highs and lows, and how I've had to wrestle with depression. I've done some wrestling with depression this year that I'm proud to talk about, because I know that it will help somebody. Also, I've got friends coming. I've got friends from every area of life coming again. Some people in the music industry, some people in film. I'm going to talk about some exciting things. And I'm going to have my mom back again. My mom was on season 1, and I felt kind of bad because season 1, our technology wasn't right. And so the episode that we did with my mom should have been a really good episode. And for me, it wasn't, because the tech stuff wasn't right. And I want to bring her back. In addition, she's got a new book out, so it makes sense to bring her back. Another thing that was really cool about season 2. So in season 2, on a couple of occasions, I had my wife and my daughter on as non or unseen guests. I've watched podcasts a lot now, and some podcasts will have a whole gallery of people working, doing the cameras and the sound and the lighting and all the stuff, pulling up data, all of that. And sometimes they'll engage those people in conversation and include them in the room, which I thought, at first I was like, oh man, you're not supposed to do that. Then I realized you can do whatever you want. This is a creative podcast space. You can do whatever you want to do. So we did that. We had 2 episodes where my wife and my daughter were on live mics, and we talked about my journey through my music journey, the very early stages of my music journey. And we, man, we had some fun. We had some fun, and we're going to do that again, and bring them back, because those two are hilarious together. And with me and them interjecting, you know, my wife and my daughter are both crazy. They're funny. We're gonna have some fun. We'll have some fun with them and have some fun talking about where I'm at right now. They know where I've been, but I want to hear their perspective as they were along the way, along the ride with me, and how it looked for them to see me kind of going through what I was going through, and honestly, just now kind of coming out of that place. That's one of the reasons why I'm in front of this camera today, because I knew I had to get out of the place that I was in sooner than later, because I can tell you right now, depression is a scary place to rest in. Very scary place to rest in, because the rest can feel like rest, but it's really not. It's more like an induced coma. And when you're in an induced coma or in a coma period, you're no longer in control. You are at the mercy of whatever it is that has induced the coma. And that's what resting in depression feels like. You feel comfortable, but you shouldn't. So we're going to talk about that this season. I've got a lot to get off my chest, but today I want to talk about what's going on in my general world. In my general world, I've made some decisions, come up with some plans, some things that I did not want to do in order to get to some things that I wanted to get to. So when my youngest son was 5 or 6, whenever we would get in the car, he would ask, wherever we were going, he would ask, are we getting on the freeway? And, at first, like, oh yeah, Blake, yeah, we get on the freeway. But he was always like, I hate the freeway. I don't like the freeway. And I'm like, why? He was 5, 6. He couldn't articulate why. But he kept asking that every time we would go somewhere, he would ask that. And we figured out, at least from his perspective, that he just simply did not like the freeway. Maybe he didn't like the speed of which we were traveling. And my wife and I are both speed racers, admittedly. So we push it when we're on the road. But even if we told him, well, Blake, we're going to Chuck E. Cheese. Oh, we're going to Chuck E. Cheese. Yay. But why do we have to take the freeway? Like that. I get it. I get it now. So let me take you back. In 2020, when COVID hit, I was already planning to retire from the hair industry. And those of you who are new to this channel and to my podcast, I was a hairstylist for 33 years, hairstylist and salon owner. I worked in that industry for a long time, most of my adult life. And I had been making preparations to transition out of hair and into education. So I went back to school and started working on finishing my degree. I had gone to school off and on since I was 18. When I was 18, I was at UCLA. When I was in my mid-20s, I was at University of Laverne, and even did a little stint at Mount SAC, somewhere in there. And then in my late 40s, yeah, because I'm old. In my late 40s, I went back to school to National to get my bachelor's degree. And let me tell you the plan, because I had a plan. The plan was sell the salon in 2019, retire from hair in the fall of 2020, and then start working somewhere in education. The only thing that worked with that plan was selling the salon in 2019. And that was probably because COVID hadn't hit yet. So my wife and I sold our salon in 2019 to a great young man named Vicente. Rest in peace, Vicente, who passed later on. So Vicente bought the shop that we owned, and we stayed, or at least I stayed, and continued to work with him at now his shop. And it was the last salon I would own. I've owned 7 over the years, over that 3-decade span. But this was the last one, 7, number of completion. You Bible scholars, y'all know what that is. So 2019, the plan is in effect, and we got a good price, and I made a good deal for myself. So it really worked out. And I was, winding down hair anyway. I was tired. My back was hurting. I'd been doing it so long. And honestly, I talked about this in season 2. I didn't like where the hair industry had gone, especially the black hair industry. Everybody gluing it on and putting it on like it's a hat or a helmet and tying it down. And that was not me. I was a short hair guy. I was a color expert, and I killed that. And I enjoyed that. I thought it was very artistic. It was a great way for me to express myself artistically. But even that, I was tired. I had corporate clients who no longer wanted to really, really experiment. They paid really well. They were consistent. They came every week. But many of them were boring from a hair industry. They were great people, but just boring from a hair perspective. And I didn't want to do it anymore. So once I sold the shop, we stayed there and worked. March 13th of 2020 was the last day I worked in the salon, in the salon, because that would be the day, the very next day would be the day that technically on the 13th, that night, they announced that they were shutting the world down. So I didn't know what that meant. I was still in school. I didn't know what that meant for the rest of my plan. So I didn't think about it. I was like, okay, well, I don't know what that means for my family economically, but we'll be fine. My wife was a teacher by then. She had transitioned out of hair years prior. She was smarter. I should have been got out. And so she was teaching. So she was just teaching online. She was teaching at home. Or what do they call it? Online, or they have another name for it, or whatever they call it. She was teaching on distant learning or whatever. She was teaching online and teaching from home, still making her salary. We had moved in with my mom to just kind of recalibrate because we were getting ready to position ourselves to buy a house. So we moved in with my mom for a very temporary time right before COVID hit. And then COVID hit. Like a month before COVID hit, we moved in with my mom, and then COVID hit. And I was like, oh my God. But then COVID ended up being a blessing in disguise. I was able to get unemployment, which I never knew I would be able to get as a hairstylist, but I paid taxes. So I was like, okay. I got unemployment, and that wasn't nearly what I made doing hair, but still, I didn't have the same kind of overhead. So life during COVID was good. But as time progressed, we weren't sure, what the world was going to do. We didn't know when the world was going to open. So we were stuck. Like, okay. And then, March turned to April, April turned to June, June turned to October, Christmas. First year, 2020 Christmas was weird. COVID, we at home. By Christmas, you could navigate with the people you were real closest to. So, okay, we've tested, everybody tested negative, we're going to get together, that kind of thing. And I was like, man. But during that time, I started working on my second book, which was a year late. And that worked out. I was able to get the book written in 6 months and get it finished and all of that. So I'm looking going, okay, things are rolling. I got this money in the bank. we're saving money. We're getting our stuff straight. We're getting ready to buy this house. Getting ready to get ready. That's redundant. And 2021, we started looking at houses. Now, remember, my plan was in 2020 in the fall to start teaching or something like that. Well, that didn't happen because I wasn't finished. I got a little delayed with my degree. So I didn't finish my degree until January of 2021. But there was nothing to do with it. Schools weren't open because that second year in 2021, the schools were still closed. So I was still without a job. My wife had gone back to her classroom to teach virtually while the kids were at home because our internet at home was crazy. We had a whole bunch of people in the house and everybody was wearing the internet out. So my wife couldn't function with the internet being that slow and teaching class. So, and she taught, she teaches SPED and it was like first, second, and third graders or something like that. Third or fourth graders. That was a lot. So she would, every day she'd get up and go to the school and go into her classroom so that she could navigate in her world while the kids were at home learning that way, which was also really cool. And I was at home with my son, with the youngest one, making sure he was on track. And honestly, academically, he did well during COVID. I know a lot of kids fell back and all that, but that's a conversation for another day because the falling back that happened for a lot of students as I am now in education, I know that it happened before COVID. COVID just exacerbated it. But my son did extremely well during COVID. We were just, vibing and just figuring it out. We were spending a lot of quality time at home. We even built an above ground pool, which was a disaster and something that I don't even like talking about because it makes me mad how much money was spent with that journey. But now remember, I'm talking about a plan. So as the world started to come back to life, I was like, okay, what am I going to do? The schools decided in the fall of 2021 that they would let kids come back. So that'd be 2021 to 2022 was the first year, the 2021-22 school year, at least in California. We know in some places they never stopped doing that because people are hard-headed and foolish. But I had done some research to find out what I needed to do in order to be ready to go back to work or to go to work because I hadn't worked for anybody in 30 plus years, 34 years going on now. And so I found all that I needed to do and took the tests that I needed to take and all the other stuff. But I also found out that in order to, I was vacillating between, do I want to teach on the secondary education level, which was junior high, high school, or do I want to just teach college? My preference was college, but I was open. So I said, okay, let's gather a plan and let's see what a plan looks like. So in January of 2022, I started subbing in a couple of school districts. And that went really good, actually. The kids loved me. I loved the kids. I thought the kids were cool. I didn't like a lot of the teachers and admin because I saw why so many kids rebel against the structure of classroom and general campus-wide authority. A lot of teachers and a lot of admin seem to have forgotten that they were kids once. They don't laugh at anything. They don't know how to identify with where the kids are in their mindset. I'm an older man, but I remember who I was at 15. I do. I remember who I was. I remember the things I did. Now, sometimes I have to remind myself of that when I'm dealing with my son, my youngest son, but I'm good at doing that too. I'm like, hey, man, my bad. I came at you sideways. I forgot. I forgot who I was at 15, but I remember. So I didn't understand how so many teachers and administrators could be so callous, so rigid, so authoritative and just mean. I was like, wow, they suck. So the kids loved me. And I knew then, okay, you know what? Let's go ahead and get a master's degree in education, and let's get a teaching credential. That way we can teach high school. Because I learned early in the subbing world that I did not like middle school. The middle school journey was different. Those kids were too young for me. They were way too immature. And the day starts earlier for middle school. And I was like, you know what? I'm too old for these kids. They like me too, though. The kids love me in junior high too, but I didn't love them back. So I decided to pursue a single subject in English. Since I love writing and I love being creative, English made the most sense. So I started that process and did all the things that I need to do for that. And the plan was go sub and see if you like it enough to continue in that journey. If not, then get a master's degree in English or something. That way you can just go teach on the college level. It's like, okay. So once I discovered that I liked it enough, I said, you know what? We can do this. So I went ahead, got into a program, an accelerated program, and got my master's degree and the preliminary stages of what's called an internship for a credential. And then while I was finishing, or at least thought I was finishing the internship, I took a full-time job teaching at a school in Moreno Valley. While I loved the kids, I didn't love anything else about my experience there. I didn't love how admin treated me during the interview process. But after that, he became like a night and day person. I don't do well with people who are Jekyll and Hyde-esque in their nature. If whoever you are today, I need you to be that same person next Wednesday. Now I give room for everybody to expand in how we see them and how we know who they are. Yes, we're all layered, but not night and day. And I mean, literally, I would walk down the hall and this administrator who hired me would look right at me and wouldn't even speak. I didn't get that. I didn't understand. I was like, this is weird. I also didn't like some of the people in the English department were very cold or distant. Some of them were a little strange, but some were just like, most of the Black folk in the English department were very distant towards me. Heck, most of the Black folk at the entire school, teacher-wise, were distant. And that just blew my mind. I thought I would get some real camaraderie. You don't see a lot of Black folk in education. And I know why. I don't pay enough to deal with these kids. But I thought I would see more camaraderie than what I did. It was only when someone needed something from me that then they knew my name. So I didn't do well with that. I didn't like that. And during that year, my private business was also doing well. And that year, I made more money with 2 contracts than I made all year teaching. That's a lot. So I said, you know what? I don't think I want to do this. Dealing with IEPs and 504s and SSTs. And for those of you in education, you know what all of that is. And I was just an intern, or so I thought. So again, I'm a storyteller, so I'm giving you the story, and this will help you to know where I'm going. So I, in January of 2024, because I started teaching at that school in 2023. In January of 2024, I got an email from HR. informing me that they had not gotten status clarity from my university regarding my internship. Now, for those of you who don't know what an internship in education is great because you get to be an intern and still finish your certificates, your degree, your credential, and all that stuff while working on a full teacher contract. So it's a great way to do it. The other option is student teaching, where you teach for free for about 16 weeks, and then you can get hired with a school. When you have a family and you have bills and you have things to cover, you don't have the luxury of student teaching, unless unless your partner makes an exuberant amount of money or makes enough money to cover your household so that you can do it. And so we took the opportunity to get a contract. And I was offered 2 jobs, actually, 2 different schools. I chose one school over the other because of the distance and the fact that my youngest son, was starting middle school, and I knew I needed to be closer to home to be able to help him navigate with that. Even though I took an $8,000 pay cut to take the other job versus the one I had first been hired for. And meanwhile, my company is still doing its thing. So it's all working out. But the internship, at least with my university, will allow you to work under contract, and then you do these cohort classes during the internship year. And but I didn't know any of that. They never told me that. They just gave me my internship letter and said, "You're internship eligible. Go get a job. And as soon as you get the job, we'll take care of the rest." So I did my part. I gave HR all the paperwork when they hired me, and everything was good. So I thought months. I got hired in the end of August. I took the job on the 1st or 2nd of September. And that school had already been in session for 5 weeks. So the teacher was leaving to take another position. That's a whole other story. So I was just sailing along. When you're an intern, you get a master teacher, someone who's going to walk with you and help you reach your checkpoints and all that kind of thing. So I had a master teacher who was my cross hallway partner. She was a dynamic teacher, a really cool person. Shout out to Viola Rowe. She's cool people. And she helped me to really navigate. Now, I'm a seasoned adult, so I've taught in other forums and other arenas and other industries. So teaching is what I do. I've always done that. So that part, I had that. And this school gave you complete autonomy. They had a curriculum that they wanted you to follow, but they knew that you had to make adaptations simply because of where the kids were in their academic assessment levels. They were all over the place. It was tragic that I taught 9th grade English 1 and 10th grade honors English. My 9th graders, I had about 103 or 104 of them. Probably 75% of them were reading at a 3rd grade level. It was ridiculous. And then my honors students, I had 2 honors classes. More than 50% of them shouldn't have even been in an honors class because they had no idea what they were doing. And it was like, what's going on here? What are we doing? We're just throwing kids anywhere? Or we just spinning the wheel, and wherever it lands, it's like, okay, they go there, let it autofill. Is that what we're doing? Because now you can do AI and you can put in a kid's grades and transcripts and any of their other reports and say, hey, does this kid meet the criteria for honors or for AP or this or that? And it'll tell you yes or no. Clearly they didn't do that. So I'm navigating that. My master teacher is really helping me to navigate the landscape of curriculum and tools. Because in terms of teaching and teaching tactics and style and dynamics, I've got that. So January, I get this email from the HR. I call the university. When the university goes, oh my God, wait, what happened? And they acknowledge they dropped the ball. And now I find out back in October of the previous year, I was supposed to start one of those cohorts. By January, I'm supposed to be getting ready to start the second half of the cohort so that my internship at the end of that school year would be complete. Never happened. The HR department kind of came at me like I had done this. And they were like, if you don't get this straight, we're going to have to let you go. We're going to have all these different things. I was like, what? I was like, I didn't have anything to do with this. So the university took full responsibility. They dropped the ball. But during that time, I realized in that moment what I really, really wanted to do. I wanted to teach college. I was very disappointed and discouraged by the level of the academic levels that the kids were on. And so the stuff that I was having to teach them was remedial. It was stuff that was things that they should have learned in the 3rd and 4th grade. I might as well go teach 3rd and 4th graders, because then I could teach them, and then when they get to high school, they'll be right. But there's no way in the world I would ever deal with children that young. I'm too old. So I said, you know what? I told the university, I said, you know what? You guys are right. You dropped the ball and you've thwarted my plan. Because what it meant was that I was going to have to either start the cohort in the second half of the year and then continue it in the following year, which would have meant I would have been an intern for 2 years in a row. Now, here's how this goes. You do your internship for 1 year, and then you do what's called induction for 1 or 2 years. And that varies depending on some other factors. And then you get your credential, your full credential. But after you do your internship, you get your preliminary credential, and you can go to one place and teach and on the internship year, and then leave that school and go teach somewhere else and get your induction there. You can do that. Heck, you can even leave the second year and go somewhere else, but you really wouldn't want to do that. So I had options, but that wasn't one of them, because what that was going to do was going to make me be in an internship status for 2 years instead of 1. In addition, when you're in internship status, your pay stays at the base rate. Now, I was getting ready to finish a master's degree, so a master's degree automatically bumps you up in tier pay, but not me. It was going to keep me where I was. That was unacceptable. Unacceptable. I'm not a 26-year-old who's starting his career. I'm a mid-50s who's starting a second career, but I have a life that needs to be addressed economically. And yes, again, my business was doing well. Operative word, was doing well at that time. So I told the university, since you made this plunder, excuse me from the internship process and let me finish, because I had already finished all the courses for my master's degree. I said, confer my master's degree so that I can go on into a different field. Because what I did was I planned to now go just directly into college teaching. So they agreed, because they knew that they had done this. This was on them. And this was going to push my calendar back, because I had a plan. I had a timeline. I was going to push it back. And in addition, I discovered that I really wanted to teach college and really didn't want to teach 9th and 10th and 11th graders 4th and 5th and 6th grade skill sets. I didn't want to do that. And I'm finding that that's an epidemic that's nationwide. So, which is scary. But, you know, the best laid plans of mice and men. I finished the school year and packed all my stuff. My colleagues that I really enjoyed, because I connected with some of the colleagues in the English department were really, really cool. None of the black ones, though. It really disappointed me. But I connected with them. None of them wanted to see me go, oh, please, we love you. You're like a bright light in this environment, because I shine. Wherever I go, I shine. I'm going to be my best self when I step into the room. So I'm not going to hide my light. I'm not going to hide my God light. I'm not going to hide my personality. I'm going to be me. And people either love that or hate that. There's no in between. So they loved it. And it was like, great. Well, not all of them. the sisters didn't, which was weird. None of the Black women at the school embraced me. That was really, really troubling for me. I really had a hard time with that. But at any rate, so I said my goodbyes at the end of the school year. My wife and I had talked through it. We had a plan, good to go. And I had some university contacts. So my mom is in the university circuit and has been for a long time, and we have other contacts. I was like, we're going to be fine. We're going to be good. And my company was doing well. We're going to be good. We're going to be better than good. Matter of fact, we're going to get a job making more money, doing less work, and really doing what we want to do. What's that old saying? If you want to ever make God laugh, tell him your plans. Yeah, none of that worked. I spent from July of 2024 to December of 2024 applying for university jobs. I did not even get so much as a callback, let alone an interview. And I interview well. If you get me in an interview panel, you're going to beg me to take the job. I couldn't even get there. It just never happened. And so now I'm starting to get a little concerned because, again, my wife and I had a plan, and my company had done well that year, but that was that year. That year was coming to a close, and I didn't know what was on the horizon for 2025. So I said, okay, you know what? Let me go on back to the high school. So I spent the rest of that year, from 2024's December all the way till March or April of 2025, or actually February, looking for work back at the high school. Nothing. But in the meantime, in January of 2025, my company got a contract to do a job that was substantial. And then in February, we got another one. And then in April, we got another one. And it was all good. 2025 was glorious. But I'm not a person who gambles like that. So I felt like, okay, this is great, but I still need my base, my foundation. I teach foundations. Keep you a foundation. I don't call them fallback plans or a plan B. Keep a foundation so that whatever you're doing, until it takes off in a place where it's really flying on its own, because 1, 2, 3 years is not enough to qualify you to say, oh, my business is successful. No, your business had a successful year. Until your business can demonstrate prolonged sustainability, 5 years minimum, you don't have a successful business. You've just had some successful years. And so, yes, we had 3 successful years. But I don't gamble with that. As quickly as that money comes, that money is going to be spent on business expenses, on equipment, on upgrades, updates, and life, because that income replaced the regular check I was getting at the school. And the check wasn't a bad check. So now I'm looking going, okay, this is great. But I still need to lock something in, because I don't want to be in a position where I look up and this money's gone and we don't know what the future holds for this money, for this company. But I know if I'm teaching, I have some stability. So I start looking in the summer of 2025 for work. Oh, and let me go back. So after all those months of looking for jobs in the higher learning institutes, college, I met with a dean of a school, a friend of my mom's, and she said to me, I've heard your mom has talked about how talented you are and how bright you are and how dynamic you are. All true. Shameless plug. And she said, but here's the challenge. Your master's degree is not specific enough. What? It's a master's degree in education. Education. She said, right, but what about education? Are you a math teacher? Are you an English teacher? Are you a history teacher? I said, well, no, my credential would have been in English had I finished that. She said, yes, but you didn't finish that. And so you can't even say that you've taught English for a number of years to put on your resume. She said, have you thought about, and before she could get the words out, I said, please do not say, have I thought about going back to school to get another degree? Because the answer is no. Matter of fact, the answer is hell no. I said, listen, I'm in my mid-50s. I already owe student loans $1 million. I don't have any intent on giving them any more money. And I don't want to write another paper, take another exam. I don't want to do any of that. I've done enough of that. I believe that I'm skilled enough to be able to navigate in any classroom. You give me the subject and I have time to sit with it, I can come and teach that class. That's how dynamic I am. These are the things I said to her. She said, I hear you, but without a specific degree, it's going to be hard. I said, well, see, here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the hookup. I said, and I'm not shameless about it. I'm looking for the connect. I'm looking for the person that can say, I have the power to hire you. I said, I've seen people teach in colleges where they created a class for them to teach. That's what I'm looking for. And she said, I know what you're referring to, but in a lot of the university circles, that game has changed. And I said, wow, talk about a blow. I said, okay. I said, all right. So you're telling me, she said, yes, you got to go back and get another degree and you might as well get a doctorate since you, I said, I said, you've been talking to my mama because that's what my mama's been singing for years. Go back and get a doctorate. I don't want that. I don't need that. So I said, okay, no problem. Now, meanwhile, remember, my company is having an outstanding year, but I know that things could change at any moment. So I'm not resting on that. I'm looking ahead. But I didn't have a plan this time because now every one of my plans outside of the 2019 selling of the salon have been dashed to the rocks. So now I'm like, okay, the college thing didn't work out. And now I can't even get back to the high school. I can't even find nobody to hire me for that. I couldn't even get a sub job in 2025. I was like, wow, I can't even get a job as a sub. This is crazy. One school that hired me as a sub in 2023, I didn't end up taking a job because I got offered a contract job. In 2024, because even when I was looking for the college jobs, I started applying to be a sub. The same person that hired me for 2023 wouldn't hire me for 2024. I said, it's like, oh, wow, this is crazy. So we're floating. We're living good though, Went on a nice vacation and, did some good things. And like I said earlier, we took care of some people and blessed some folk and all that. And then the fall started to roll around of 2025. And I'd already started looking, going, things are getting shaky. I need a job. So I said, all right, let's go back to teaching high school. Let's do that. No. I couldn't even get an interview. Not one. And when I tell you I applied at jobs that were an hour, hour and a half away from my home. I applied everywhere. Couldn't get a job. Couldn't even get an interview. I got one school that called my references, just one. I was like, wow, this is crazy. So as 2025 starts winding down, I found myself looking down the barrel of a depleting business bank account with no new contract prospects, because the gentleman that has taken over the White House has issued some things and some executive orders that have directly impacted the companies that I was contracting with. So the services that I provide were the first to go. So here we are, late March, early April of 2026, and no contracts. And more importantly, no job. Yeah. It's left me in a dark place for most of this year. And this year just started. But really, for me, the darkness started in November of 2025 because I saw what was coming. I knew then that the contracts were going to be scarce. Now, I said earlier, I'm a God guy, so I trust God. But I'm kind of like, I believe, but help me in my unbelief. You know, my faith is not 100. On some days, it's higher than other days. It's an ebb and flow. But from about November till the first week of March, I have been in a very, very dark place, worrying about my family, worrying about how we're going to take care of our needs, knowing this place, I've been here before, and seeing going, I don't want to go back where I've been before, please. So I took a meeting with a person who's got some things going on in the education world, K through 12 education world, and primary and secondary. I didn't want to take the meeting because I still didn't want to go back and teach high school. But when you're in a position where you got to do whatever you got to do to take care of your family, I'm a guy who will do whatever he's got to do, short of crime, to take care of my family. But I'm not judging because given the circumstance, I understand how some people turn to crime. I do. So in meeting with this person, I was left with the impression that, all right, Stephen Wayne, perhaps you can give this a chance, another chance, especially if this is the only opportunity you've got, because it's clearly now you're not going to get to teach in the arena that you really want to teach in, that you truly, truly want to teach in, and that's higher learning. That I want to have conversations with adults. I want to have academic conversations with adults, even if they're 20 or 19. They're considered adults. Now, what I know now is that those 19 and 20-year-olds are probably writing at a 7th and 9th grade level in high school, maybe. But I can work with that because there's some other factors there, there's some other dynamics there. If a kid doesn't like your class or can't jive with the work or the course load is too much, they have the power within themselves to go to the office, file a paper, and say, I'm withdrawing. No problem. When I was teaching at the high school and teaching honors, I told those kids right before the Christmas break, I sat my honors classes down, both of them, 2 days prior to the break, and I did it strategically. 2 days because what I learned was that I, the expert, could not go to the counselors and say, hey, this kid, and this kid shouldn't be in my class. You need to take them out. They're not doing well. The content is above them. The counselor said, sorry, we can't do that unless the student or their parents request that. What? I'm the one telling you they're going to sink. But we can't. I said, okay, cool, I know what to do. So I sat both of my honors classes down and told them that some of you are in this class because a counselor decided to just throw you in this class. And you've struggled. All first semester, you've struggled. Some of you are in this class because your friend was in this class and you wanted to be in it, but you've discovered that the workload is above where you are right now. I said, and I've got to warn you, the semester ends in 2 days. And when we come back, we'll transition to the second semester where the work is going to get harder. The hill is going to get steeper. And I believe that there are many of you who should go to your counselors today or tomorrow and request that you be moved to a different class, a class more suited for working on worksheets and just doing some developmental English work. I said, because if you want to really survive this class, you've got to have a certain amount of academic development. I did that and left it at that. Now, I had told some individual students too that they really needed to do that. They needed to take my advice and do that. But outside of that, I gave my general warnings. When I got back from the break, as much as I got that news about my university dropping the ball, I also got news when I looked at my roll, my roll sheets for my enrollment sheets from when I got back. Not one person, not one student withdrew from my classes. And I went directly to 2 counselors that I know covered at least some of the students that I was hoping would do themselves a favor. I said, why is this young man still in my class? And they said, we talked to them and they said they didn't want to leave your class because they really like you. I was like, what? Now, the humanity in me was grateful, but the teacher in me was sad because these were kids that should have never, ever been in an honors English situation. So now, fast forward, and I'm having to go back to the very thing that I did not want to do again. And understanding that on the college level, these students are still going to have some issues that are going to cause them to be lower than what you're wanting. But at least I'm playing the numbers now. If I'm teaching freshmen or sophomore or even junior college students, they might be at 10th and 11th grade high school level, maybe. They're not going to be at 7th grade level like my 9th graders were at 3rd grade level. Just come on. So I said, okay, I took the meeting and we talked about a job that's coming up in the fall. The fall of this year. I don't know what's going to happen with it. But in the meantime, while I was still in the darkness, I said to myself, I can't stay here much longer. This isn't a good place for me to be. I don't even want to be here. But I'm feeling hopeless because everything I've tried to do has fallen. So it's like, man, okay. And now, on top of that, no contracts. So now I have the economic pressure that I'm faced with, and then the career pressure of, well, you try to do this and this and this, and none of that's worked. I really, because in the months of February and March, I had taken a job at a school district, subbing, low-paying school district. I won't even name the school district. Subbing, but I discovered two things. One, I still like the kids. And the kids still love me. I already get a lot of, hey, what's up, Mr. P? And all. I get all of that. But I also discovered that those kids are exactly where I thought they would be academically. And I don't really want to be bothered with that. So I made a decision. A month ago, I made a decision. The decision was, if you want to teach college, you're going to have to do what your mom's friend said. You're going to have to go back and get another degree. I was like, come on. I said, all right, if I'm going to get a degree, the time is going to be taken from me either way. I might as well get the doctorate. So I decided I'm going to get a doctorate. I think we got applaud. Yay! My mama was really happy when I told her. I'm not happy about it. Remember, I started this talking about my son not liking the freeway, but liking the destination. I'm in a place in my life right now where I do not like the freeway. But I know that this freeway, no matter how crowded it is, no matter how fast or slow people are driving, no matter how hot it is that day, is going to get me to the destination that I am going to enjoy. So I came up with a decision. I'm going to get a doctorate. I talked to my wife, I talked to my sister, I talked to my mom, and I talked to my daughter. And they all said, oh, that's good. But I still didn't have a plan. So that's when I called my sister. Because then I started thinking more and more about my desire, and what I now expressed, but now I need to come up with a plan. So I said to her those things. I said, hey, what would you do if you were in my place? And she said, you know what? I would finish the credential, because the credential process from beginning to end is 2 to 3 years. But in those 2 to 3 years, you're working the whole time. So you're getting a check, you're getting benefits, retirement, all that stuff. She said, I would finish the credential and simultaneously work on the doctorate. And then that way, when you're finished with one, you'll be finished with the other. And then you'll have options. And that was like a breath of fresh air. That was the oxygen I needed to get me out of the place that I've been in. I needed a plan. We came up with a plan, and it's a good plan. Now, some things still have to fall in place. Things still have to work, but it's a good plan. So here's the plan. I'll tell you now, and then I'm going to let you go. In the fall, my plan is to go back to teaching in the classroom, high school English. If the Lord allows, someone will hire me. If they hire me, I'll finish my year of internship. And when my internship year is done, then I will start a doctorate program. And I've already researched the doctoral program I want to take. And it's a 2-year program. It's going to take my master's degree as some units, and I'll be done. By the time I finish induction, I'll be Dr. Stephen Wayne. That'll be dope. My mama will like it. But ultimately, it will allow me to get into some spaces that I want to be in that I seem to have been kept from being in simply because I don't have a particular amount of letters before or after my name. Sucks. My giftedness is what will keep me there, though. So that's the plan. Now I've got a supplemental plan in case I don't get hired, but I'm not going to get into all that. I got a good solid secondary plan that helps me to do the same thing, to end with the same result. But that's my plan, and I'm sharing it with you guys so that all of you looking and checking it out on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram, as you see this podcast, you see these messages I'm telling you, you can hold me accountable. You can check in on me. Hey, Stephen Wayne, how's your plan going? Because now I have a real plan that makes sense. It includes a freeway that I don't want to be on. But I like road trips sometimes, especially when I'm going where I want to go. So Redeem the time, y'all. This is season 3 of Life Interrupts Us, the podcast. I'm Stephen Wayne, the storyteller. Welcome back. Peace.